Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this beautiful day here on the Capitol lawn. Over yonder we have the Dome, and that's where members of Congress are called to serve the people, not their portfolios. And that's why we need to end the corrupt trading in individual stocks. It's corrupt because members use advantageous access to information unavailable to the general public, to win stock market returns that beat the market year after year. Congress outperformed the market and beat the S&P 500 index in both 2021 and 2022. And we've seen stories like this time after time after time after time. That stock trading by individual members is also corrupt because members' portfolios have the potential to influence how they write legislation and how they vote on bills. And these possibilities certainly cause the public to recognize that something is fundamentally wrong for members to trade stocks. That's why 3 out of 4 Americans say in poll after poll that stock trading by members of Congress is wrong and should be banned. And that's why we need to pass the Ethics Act, the End Trading and Holding in Congressional Stocks, and pass it this year. Today, we are announcing that we have 21 original Senate co-sponsors on the Ethics Act. And the Ethics Act is bicameral and bipartisan, with Democrat Raja Krishnamurthy and Republican Michael Cloud launching the bill in the House of Representatives. This act requires members to divest their individual stocks. Members can cash them out. Members can sell them and purchase diversified stock funds. They can purchase approved bonds, or they can put them in a blind trust. And it takes effect instantly, banning members from purchasing individual stocks immediately upon passage and ending the selling of individual stocks after a 90-day transition period. This bill also covers spouses and minor children. And it modifies the treatment of blind trusts to make them truly blind, requiring a trust to sell all individual stocks in the portfolio within 120 days and limiting communication with the trustee. So a member actually has no idea what is in their blind trust, which is what the name's always implied but never been the reality. This bill creates powerful penalties for violations on holding or trading stocks equal to a month's salary or 10% of the value of the traded asset, whichever is greater. That's a big penalty, and it's reassessed every single month that a member is in violation. This bill also strengthens the penalties for the Stock Act that address insider trading and creates transparency on how members benefit from federal benefits like grants and contracts. And here I want to give special recognition to Kirsten Gillibrand, who couldn't be here today, who developed those provisions to make the Stock Act more effective. Taken in its entirety, the Ethics Act is a powerful stride towards a Congress with integrity, a Congress that serves the people, not the members' portfolios. Since 2012, Senator Brown and I have worked to develop and pass legislation to ban stock trading. Senator Brown is a tireless champion for the people, and I'm so pleased that he's been a partner in this effort. Welcome, Senator Brown.
Jeff Merkley, thank you. Raj, thank you. And Senator Heinrich, thank you. And this movement grows every year. As Jeff said, the number of senators that are co-sponsors, this is growing in the House. Jeff and I have been working on this for a decade. I remember my amendment excuse me. I remember my amendment back in 2012 banning members from trading stocks, and it lost by a big margin in the Senate. And I remember the blowback from fellow senators. How dare you do that by taking away something that we have? And I think it's pretty clear that what Jeff Merkley's working on here, what all of us are supporting, is the right thing to do. I was in East Palestine yesterday where the train derailment happened. I go there once a month, trying to hold Norfolk Southern accountable, trying to make sure that they make these people in the community whole in terms of the illnesses, in terms of paying for the hotels after they fled, in terms of what happens to the price of their homes. Their view of members of Congress is that we live in this bubble and are all about keeping ourselves in a place that we're doing just fine financially. Americans have watched for years as members of Congress continue to act the way members of Congress do, and at the same time provide handout after handout to the wealthy and big corporations. It's time that finally Congress stand up in support of this legislation and support of what Senator Merkley and Senator Heinrich and Raj and I are trying to do to make sure that members of Congress divest themselves. There were reports that even during the Silicon Valley Bank as the Silicon Valley Bank was closed, even during that period, there were reports that members of Congress were trading bank stocks. I mean, imagine that members of Congress, we have more inside information. Members of Congress are able, because of our jobs, to know more about the economy. I chair the Senate Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs Committee, a committee until I took over that was just called the Banking Committee because it was all about Wall Street. We know what position members of Congress can be in, and we know that the temptations are too great for some members of Congress to resist. That's why this legislation is so important. People need to have confidence that policymakers are making decisions about what's best for the country, not what's best for their stock portfolios. That's the reason we're here this year. Finally, because of Jeff's work, we're building momentum to make this happen. We've got to move forward on this. Senator Heinrich, who has been a star in this all along, too.
Thank you, Sharon. Thanks to Jeff Merkley for leading this up in the Senate and Congressman Krishnamurthy for leading this effort in the House. This is very simple. This is about the necessity of saying to every single American that your member of Congress, your senator, is making decisions based on what is best for the country and what is best for your state and your constituents, not what is best for your bottom line. And having that question mark hang out there is a disservice, frankly, to the Senate and the House. It is a disservice to the kind of governance that we should be holding up and the example that we should be setting. If you think about the last few years, it's very obvious that Congress, on a repeated basis, has to deal with emergencies that we don't see coming. And whether that's COVID, whether that's the war in Ukraine, whether that's the Silicon Valley Bank disaster that we just went through, we shouldn't be making financial decisions about individual stocks as a result of the information that we have that others may not have. And eliminating the question mark over why we do the things we do, not what we do, but why we do them, is absolutely critical, I think, to the reputation of the government to be able to represent the people of this country. So I want to thank everyone who has stepped up for this. This effort grows every single Congress, and it is deeply in line with the sentiment of the American people, and we are going to get this done. Thank you. Congressman Krishnamurthy.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you. Good morning. I'm Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy of the great state of Illinois, and I'm here to say that this press conference with this official from the state of Illinois is going to go a lot more positive than some other ones. So I'm grateful to be included. First of all, I want to say a special thank you to Senator Merkley, Senator Brown, Senator Fetterman, Senator Heinrich, and of course my colleague, Congressman Mike Cloud, who couldn't be here because of a conflict with the committee hearing. I also want to thank Crew President Noah Bookbinder, POGO's Dylan Hedler-Gaudet, and PCCC's founder Adam Green for being tremendous partners on this legislation as well. You know, when I often bring up this issue of individual stock trading by members of Congress, my constituents say, isn't that illegal already? And I say, no, it's not. You can actually do that. And they're kind of aghast when you say that, look, you can go into a classified briefing or you can learn about the introduction of new legislation affecting a company, and then you can go and leave the committee room and get onto your Ameritrade app and start trading on that stock. And that's crazy. That's unacceptable. And although the vast majority of members of Congress don't engage in that practice, even for those who do not, the appearance of impropriety caused by the existence of the possibility of doing that erodes trust in the institution for all of us and for all of Americans. I echo all of the sentiments shared by what the senators say, and I would just say we need the Ethics Act now because there's no room in Congress for insider trading. We need the Ethics Act now, not only to protect the sanctity of our democracy, but to ensure the success of our democracy. And finally, we need the Ethics Act now because no American should ever, ever come second to their representative's portfolio. Let's pass the Ethics Act and let's help renew the American people's faith in our democracy. Thank you. Now I'd like to introduce Noah Bookbinder of Crew.
I'm going to step in for just a second.
Oh, okay, great.
And so I want to recognize that this whole effort has been driven both by members inside the building and a credible group of citizen advocates outside the building. And we have 3 organizations that have been that are here today to particularly weigh in. But before they weigh in, I want to invite John Fetterman to see if he'd like to make some comments. Would you like to comment? John, please.
Thank you so much for having me here today, and thank you, Merkley, for your leadership on this bill. I am honored to be here. Lawmakers should not be able to profit off of the same companies that they are regulating. It's just that simple. Letting members of Congress trade stocks open to the door of corruption. Lawmakers should be focused on getting results, not lining their own pockets. Now, let's get this done. Thank you all, Yale. Thank you.
The endorsing organizations are numerous, but we have a handout that has them on for you. But I want to particularly invite 3 leaders in the public interest advocacy world to share some thoughts, starting with Noah Bookbinder, President of Citizens for Responsibility of Ethics in Washington, or better known as Crew, that has been with us all the way through. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Noah Bookbinder. I'm the president of Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, or CREW. CREW is a nonpartisan nonprofit dedicated to building an ethical and accountable government, protecting and strengthening democracy, and fighting corruption in all its forms. I'm proud to stand up here with Senator Merkley, Senator Fetterman, Senator Heinrich, Senator Brown, and Representative Krishnamurthy, along with my colleagues from POGO and PCCC, to express CREW's strong and enthusiastic support for the Ethics Act. Our democracy is facing a crisis of public confidence that has been fueled by routine reports of members of both parties making suspicious-looking stock trades and owning stock in companies that they regulate. These clear conflicts of interest tar the entire institution at a time when faith in our democracy hangs in the balance. The American public needs to be confident that members of Congress are not using their positions to enrich themselves and are making decisions based on what's good for the country, not their own bottom lines. To begin to rebuild the public's faith in Congress, we must ban members of Congress, their spouses, and their dependent children from owning or trading stocks. That is precisely what the Ethics Act does. The Ethics Act's clear and complete prohibition on congressional stock trading demonstrates that in our democracy, the needs of the public, not members' stock portfolios, comes first. That is a message the public desperately needs to hear. This is an issue that CREW's been talking about for years. It's one that I've heard Senator Merkley talking about for years, and it's kind of amazing that it's still a problem. But I know it's a thorny issue within Congress. So thank you again to Senator Merkley and all of these leaders for taking a courageous stand and for all your work to put together this legislation. We stand ready to work with you and with congressional allies on both sides of the aisle to pass this desperately needed legislation. Thanks.
All right, very good. And Dylan Hetler-Gaudet, Senior Government Affairs Manager at the Project on Government Oversight, better known as POGO, is here to join us. And they have been key partners on this all the way through. Welcome, Dylan.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much, Senator Merkley, Senator Brown, Senator Heinrich, Senator Fetterman, and Congressman Krishnamurthy. I want to take a moment just to reiterate something that Senator Merkley and Senator Brown mentioned here. They have been fighting this particular fight for over a decade now. So we should all be particularly appreciative for them continuing to fight this uphill battle. I believe someone also mentioned that they've received a lot of pushback from their colleagues in Congress, and you can understand why that might be the case, but they've stuck with it. They've remained steadfast, and that's why we're here today. So we should refer to Jeff Merkley and Sherrod Brown as the OGs on banning congressional stock trading. We at POGO are proud to be a part of the coalition supporting and endorsing this important legislation. Senator Merkley also referenced earlier poll after poll showing that the American people do not believe that members of Congress should be able to trade stocks. That is, I think, inherently obvious and self-evident. One other thing that you'll consistently see in polls and research is that the average American cannot afford an emergency expenditure of $400. I think you can see the connection here. People out there are struggling. Congress has become a millionaire and billionaires club. So to add insult to injury, people are still trading stocks in Congress, people still have conflicts of interest in Congress, and it needs to end, and it needs to end now. The Ethics Act is the strongest and I think best thought out, most well-drafted, tightest piece of legislation out there that would end this practice, and that's why we need to focus on getting the Ethics Act passed and done this year. No more waiting, no more delay, it's time to get it done. Thank you so much. Privileged to be here, and I look forward to working with everybody to make sure this happens.
And we have Adam Green. He is the co-founder of Progressive Change Campaign Committee, PCCC. And in terms of mobilizing citizens to weigh in with their members of Congress, they do a superb job, and we've been delighted to have them as partners on this journey. Welcome, Adam.
Yes, sir. Thank you all for being here. So much has been said already. I'm just going to make 2 points. One, a note of thanks, and one, a note of political accountability for those who are not on this bill at the end of the day. First, the thanks. Our government relations arm, P Street, the progressive alternative to K Street, has been proud to play a leadership role within the coalition that Senator Merkley mentioned. I want to thank Emma from our team, as well as Zoe, who's here today, who've worked with Senator Merkley's staff, Paula, and others, to really bring together an inside-outside coalition to symbolize a strong public support for ethics in Washington. You know, I want to thank Senator Merkley for playing a leadership role on an issue that should require no leadership. This is an issue of insider trading in Congress. This is an issue that should have 100 Senate co-sponsors on day one of this Congress. We should not need leaders to step out for the proposition that politicians should not be corrupt. And anybody who is not on this bill should go home to either a town hall meeting or perhaps a rally of their own supporters and ask for a show of hands. Who here is giving me a mandate to go to Congress and engage in insider trading? The answer will be precisely 0 constituents. And that's why we're calling today on every member of the US Senate, Republican and Democrat, to get on this bill for the basic proposition that we need the public interest being represented in Congress and not private profit by politicians. Political accountability. So, the Democratic Party has a real risk in the 2024 era of being outflanked by Trump and Trumpism when it comes to taking on corruption and being perceived as on the side of everyday people. In a very absurd turn of events, Donald Trump is trying to claim the mantle of economic populism and anti-corruption when he is the most corrupt politician and the least on the side of regular people. And that's why Democrats need to plant a flag in the ground and make clear that at least if Republicans aren't going to do it, 100% of Democrats stand for the idea of taking on political corruption. And I'll leave you with one final note. I saw some Gallup polling yesterday that showed that 20 years ago, when people were asked their party affiliation, it was pretty much a three-way tie. 35% said Democrat, 33% said Republican, 31% said independent. Today, the number of self-identified independents are basically Democrats plus Republicans combined. 49% independents, 25% Democrat, 25% Republican. That is a symbol of how many people feel disaffected by today's politics. And silence is a statement. Silence opens the door to demagogues to run in 2024 against us and cast Democrats as part of the problem. So that's why, again, we're thankful for the leadership that is present here today, but we call on all Democrats and all members of the Senate to get on this ethics bill and stand for the basic proposition that Congress should not be corrupt. Thank you.
And an appreciation to another 10 organizations that have endorsed, including groups like Public Citizen. And now we'll just open this up to your questions. And yes, go ahead.
Senator Merkley, Nathan Algren with the Associated Press. Should the Senate, we're right by the Supreme Court, should the